Picture this. You step into a time machine and the doors open to London in the 1700s. A city of roaring markets, dangerous night streets, secret coffeehouse debates, and shocking contrasts between glittering wealth and desperate poverty. You hear the clash of carriage wheels, smell the smoke hanging in the air, and feel the tension of a world on the edge of revolution and transformation. But beneath the chaos are real human stories. Ambition, survival, crime, dreams, and ideas that changed history forever. Stay with me, because what you're about to see isn't just a tour of old London. It's the raw heartbeat of a city that shaped the modern world. We'll explain everything in this video, step by step. Don't skip it. Close your eyes for a moment and listen. The year is 1700. Dawn breaks slowly over London, not with quiet birdsong, but with the groan of wagon wheels, the clang of iron shutters, and the restless murmur of nearly 1 million souls awakening together. Smoke curls from hundreds of chimneys, hanging low over crooked rooftops like a heavy gray blanket. The River Thames moves thick and brown beside the city, a lifeline, a marketplace, and sometimes a silent witness to tragedy. London is not a gentle city. It is loud, crowded, alive. A place where fortunes rise in a single season and collapse before the next winter. Here, every street tells a story. Every brick holds a memory. Today, we walk through that city, not as distant observers, but as travelers among its people. Part 1, the streets of survival. Step carefully. The streets are narrow and uneven, packed with mud, animal waste, and the refuse of daily life. There are no modern pavements here, only slippery cobblestones and wooden carts struggling to move through dense crowds. Vendors shout over each other, fresh bread, hot pies, coal for the fire. Children dart between legs, barefoot and hungry. Many work before they learn to read, selling newspapers, polishing boots, or carrying water for pennies. Poverty is not hidden here. It stands openly in torn clothes and tired faces, and yet there is laughter. There are conversations at street corners, shared jokes among strangers, and a stubborn sense of survival. Londoners learn early that hardship is a daily companion, but so is resilience. The air smells of smoke, fish, sweat, and opportunity. Part 2, markets and the pulse of commerce. Follow the crowd toward Covent Garden or Cheapside. Markets bursting with color and chaos. Fish from the coast, vegetables from nearby farms, spices from distant empires. London is becoming the beating heart of global trade. Merchants argue over prices while porters carry heavy sacks on their backs. Sailors step off ships, speaking foreign languages, bringing news from faraway lands. Stories of colonies, wars, and wealth beyond imagination. Coffeehouses appear on busy corners, filled with heated debates about politics, science, and philosophy. Ideas spread quickly here, sometimes faster than the truth. In smoky rooms, strangers argue about the future of Britain, the nature of freedom, and the power of kings. These places are more than businesses. They are the early engines of modern thought. Part 3, wealth and splendor behind closed doors. Turn away from the crowded markets and walk toward the West End. Suddenly, London changes. Wide streets, elegant townhouses, polished carriages rolling smoothly over cleaner roads. Here live the wealthy, merchants who struck gold in overseas trade, politicians shaping the future of empire, and aristocrats hosting lavish gatherings beneath glittering chandeliers. Inside grand homes, music plays softly while guests sip tea, a luxury imported from distant lands. Fashion becomes a symbol of status. Powdered wigs, silk coats, and elaborate gowns reflect not only wealth, but also the growing influence of global commerce. But even here, shadows linger. Behind fine doors, servants work long hours, social expectations weigh heavily on women and men alike. Status brings comfort, but also pressure, rivalry, and constant fear of falling from grace. Part 4, crime, fear, and the dark corners. As night falls, London changes again. Lantern light flickers along dark alleys where danger hides. Thieves and pickpockets move silently through crowded taverns. Organized crime begins to take shape. And fear grows among citizens who know that help is often far away. Public punishments draw large crowds, grim spectacles meant to warn and control. Justice is harsh, sometimes brutally so, yet these events reveal something deeper. A society struggling to maintain order in a city growing faster than its ability to govern. Despite the darkness, communities form strong bonds. Neighbors watch over one another. Churches and charities attempt to care for the poor, offering a small measure of compassion in a hard world. Part 5, innovation ideas, and a changing world, the 1700s are not only about struggle, they are about transformation. London becomes a center of learning and creativity. Writers publish newspapers that shape public opinion. Scientists gather to discuss discoveries that will redefine human understanding. Engineers experiment with machines that hint at an industrial future. Printing presses multiply. Literacy grows. Ideas once limited to elites begin to reach common citizens. Conversations about rights, governance, and human dignity slowly take root, seeds that will shape revolutions and reforms in the years ahead. London is messy, loud, and imperfect, but it is also a laboratory of progress. Closing, the human story of a city. As our tour ends, stand once more beside the River Thames. Ships drift slowly across the water, carrying goods, dreams, and sometimes sorrow. London in the 1700s is a city of contradictions. Beauty beside poverty, hope beside fear, innovation beside tradition. It is not defined by its buildings or its markets alone, but by its people, the baker rising before dawn, the child selling newspapers in the rain, the scholar debating ideas in a crowded coffeehouse, the sailor chasing fortune across distant seas. They are the heartbeat of this restless city, and perhaps that is the true story of London. Not merely a place on a map, but a living testament to human endurance. A city that struggled, stumbled, and still pushed forward, shaping the modern world through courage, ambition, and an unbreakable spirit. When we look back at London in the 1700s, we do not see just history. We see ourselves, our hopes, our fears, and our constant search for a better tomorrow. Dawn creeps slowly into London, not with gentle silence, but with the restless stirring of a city already awake. Before the sun fully rises, the streets begin to breathe with movement. Wooden carts rumble over uneven cobblestones, their wheels groaning under the weight of coal, grain, and barrels of ale. Shopkeepers lift heavy shutters with tired hands, revealing narrow storefronts crowded with goods meant to catch the attention of hurried passers-by. Smoke from countless chimneys mixes with morning fog, creating a thick gray haze that settles low over rooftops and curls through alleyways. The air is damp, heavy with the smell of soot, rotting refuse, animal waste, and the salty scent drifting from the nearby Thames. The streets are narrow and often dangerously crowded. Horses push through dense foot traffic while vendors shout over one another, each voice fighting for a moment of attention. Women balance baskets of vegetables on their heads, calling out prices that change with every hour. Men haul crates from river docks to market stalls, their shoulders bent from years of labor. Children move quickly between adults, selling scraps of newspapers, matches, or bits of bread. Many are barefoot, their faces smudged with dirt, their eyes sharp with the knowledge that survival depends on speed and persistence. Every corner feels alive with noise. Bells ringing, dogs barking, arguments flaring and fading within seconds. Rain transforms the streets into muddy rivers where carts sink and boots become heavy with grime. Open drains run along the edges, carrying away waste that rarely disappears completely. Slippery stones cause frequent falls, and laughter sometimes follows misfortune. Nay, as strangers watch someone struggle to regain balance. There is little privacy here. Every action unfolds before the eyes of neighbors and strangers alike. Windows remain open, allowing conversations, music, and sometimes cries of despair to spill into public space. Crowded tenements rise several stories high, packed tightly with families who share small rooms with little light or ventilation. The people who walk these streets carry the marks of a hard life. Laborers begin work before dawn and continue until darkness, earning just enough to secure a meal and perhaps a corner to sleep in. Women work as laundresses, seamstresses, or street sellers, their hands rough and cracked from constant use. Apprentices hurry through errands for masters who expect discipline and obedience. Beggars sit along busy routes, holding out trembling hands to anyone willing to spare a coin. Their presence is constant, a visible reminder of how quickly fortune can turn against even the strongest worker. Despite the harshness, moments of warmth appear unexpectedly. Friends greet one another loudly, exchanging jokes while waiting in long lines for bread. Musicians play simple tunes on worn instruments, drawing small crowds eager for distraction. Street performers balance on makeshift platforms, turning daily chaos into brief entertainment. Taverns open early, offering cheap drink and the comfort of shared stories. People gather around outdoor fires during colder months, passing cups and talking about rumors from Parliament or distant wars that may soon affect their lives. Animals add to the crowded energy. Chickens wander freely, pigs root through piles of discarded food, and stray dogs foal. Anyone carrying a scrap of meat, Horses pull carriages carrying merchants or nobles, forcing common pedestrians to step aside quickly or risk injury. The constant presence of animals contributes to the thick smell that hangs in the air, a scent that becomes so familiar many no longer notice it. Noise never truly disappears. Even in brief, quiet moments, the distant echo of work continues from docks, workshops, and crowded inns. Commerce thrives within this chaos. Hawkers carry trays of hot pies, roasted nuts, and cheap tobacco, weaving through crowds with practiced ease. Market squares fill with stalls selling fish that still glisten from river water, vegetables stained with soil, and fabrics imported from distant lands. Buyers argue loudly over prices, every coin counted. Carefully, pickpockets take advantage of tight spaces, slipping unnoticed through crowds until someone suddenly realizes a purse is gone. Shouts of anger and frustration follow, but the thief has already disappeared into a maze of twisting lanes. The architecture of these streets reflects both necessity and neglect. Buildings lean at odd angles, some nearly touching across narrow passages where sunlight struggles to reach the ground. Wooden beams darkened by years of smoke frame windows stuffed with rags to block cold air. Small signs hang overhead, painted with symbols to help illiterate customers identify shops, boots for cobblers, loaves for bakers, tankards for taverns. Fire remains a constant fear. One spark could race through tightly packed structures, leaving entire neighborhoods in ashes within hours. Social boundaries blur in public spaces. A wealthy merchant might brush shoulders with a dock K-worker, while a young aristocrat experiences the energy of the crowd during a quick carriage ride through the city. Differences in clothing reveal status instantly. Silk coats and powdered wigs stand out against rough wool and patched garments. Yet hunger and illness do not always respect class divisions. Disease spreads easily in crowded conditions, and news of outbreaks travels quickly, prompting both fear and prayer. As the day continues, fatigue becomes visible. Faces grow more serious, steps slower under the weight of long labor. Street sweepers attempt to clear refuse, though their efforts rarely keep pace with the endless flow of waste. Water sellers push barrels through crowds, offering a brief refreshment to anyone able to pay. Apprentices rush between workshops carrying tools, messages, and raw materials needed to keep production moving. The constant rhythm of commerce and survival rarely pauses, even when weather turns harsh or food supplies run thin. Voices fill the air with stories of hope and struggle. Some speak of opportunities in distant colonies, imagining wealth beyond the reach of London's crowded alleys. Others share tales of neighbors who rose from poverty through skill or luck, proof that transformation remains possible. Religious preachers stand at corners delivering fiery sermons, urging repentance and moral reform. Listeners gather, some out of belief, others simply seeking a moment's distraction from physical exhaustion. By late afternoon, the sunlight fades behind thick smoke and looming buildings. Shadows stretch across the streets, and lanterns begin to flicker to life. The pace of movement changes, but never truly slows. Workers hurry home, carrying small bundles of food, while others prepare for night shifts in bakeries, printing shops, or watch patrols. The city continues its restless motion, every individual contributing to a living tapestry woven from ambition, hardship, and resilience, the chaotic streets remaining a stage where thousands of personal stories unfold simultaneously, each step echoing against stones worn smooth by generations of struggle and survival, every breath taken within a city that never fully rests, never fully heals, and never stops moving through the endless rhythm of daily life in 18th century London. Morning light glimmers across the River Thames as ships crowd the water, their tall masts forming a forest of wood and rope against the pale sky. The river is alive with motion long before the city fully wakes. Sailors shout to one another in accents from across Europe and beyond, hauling ropes and adjusting sails as vessels inch toward crowded docks. The smell of salt water mixes with tar, wet wood, and spices carried from distant ports. Barges loaded with tea, sugar, tobacco, silk, and exotic goods drift slowly through thick currents, each shipment representing fortunes won or lost on uncertain seas. At the wharves, dock workers move with practiced urgency, balancing heavy crates on their shoulders while foremen bark orders above the noise of gulls and creaking ships. Some men work barefoot for better grip on slippery planks, their muscles straining as they unload barrels of rum or stacks of timber. Women and children wait nearby, hoping for small tasks that might earn a few coins. Customs officers inspect cargo carefully, recording details that feed a growing network of commerce, linking London to distant colonies and trading partners. Every arrival brings news of storms, wars, discoveries, and changing markets, stories spreading, quickly through the crowds gathered along the river's edge. From the docks, goods flow toward bustling markets that serve as the heart of London's daily trade. Covent Garden, Cheapside, and Billingsgate pulse with color and chaos. Fishmongers display their catches on wooden tables still wet from river water, while butchers hang fresh cuts of meat from iron hooks that sway gently in the breeze. Vegetable sellers arrange cabbages, carrots, and onions into neat piles, calling out prices that change depending on supply and demand. Merchants argue loudly with buyers, hands waving as they debate the worth of spices that traveled across oceans or fabrics woven in distant lands. The sound of haggling becomes a constant rhythm, blending with laughter, frustration, and occasional applause when a clever bargain is struck. Coffeehouses rise along busy streets, offering a new kind of marketplace built not on goods but on ideas. Inside smoky rooms filled with the scent of roasted beans, merchants discuss shipping routes and insurance rates while writers and thinkers debate politics, science, and philosophy. Newspapers circulate from table to table, spreading information faster than ever before. Some coffee houses gain reputations for specific professions. One might host sailors and navigators exchanging maps and tales of distant islands, while another becomes a meeting ground for financiers calculating risks and investments. Rumors and news shape business decisions, influencing trade far beyond the city's boundaries. Financia. Institutions begin to take form, providing structure to the expanding web of commerce. Banking houses lend money to merchants planning long voyages, and investors gather to discuss shares in trading companies that promise enormous returns. Insurance firms calculate the dangers of piracy, storms, and war, turning uncertainty into calculated risk. Ledgers filled with neat rows of numbers represent hopes of profit as well as fears of loss. Clerks sit for hours copying transactions, their quills scratching across parchment, while outside the streets roar with activity fueled by the very deals recorded within those quiet rooms. The presence of global trade transforms everyday life. Tea imported from Asia becomes a fashionable drink among the wealthy, served in delicate cups during social gatherings that reflect shifting cultural habits. Sugar sweetens desserts once considered luxuries, while tobacco fills pipes and creates clouds of smoke in taverns and homes alike. Exotic fabrics influence clothing styles, bringing vibrant colors and new textures into London's fashion. Yet behind these pleasures lies a complex network of labor, including the exploitation of enslaved people in distant colonies whose suffering remains largely invisible to those enjoying the final products. Porters carry goods through narrow streets toward warehouses stacked high with crates and barrels. The buildings themselves become symbols of growing prosperity, massive structures designed to protect valuable cargo from theft and weather. Guards patrol entrances, watching for criminals eager to seize opportunities created by the constant flow of wealth. Cart drivers navigate crowded roads, shouting warning GS as horses strain to pull heavy loads through dense foot traffic. Accidents occur frequently, and arguments erupt when damaged goods threaten a merchant's profit or a worker's reputation. Artisans and craftsmen rely heavily on imported materials. Silk weavers transform raw threads into luxurious garments, while cabinet makers shape exotic woods into furniture desired by wealthy households. Printers use paper made from imported fibers to produce pamphlets and books that spread knowledge and influence public opinion. Even small shopkeepers depend on trade networks, selling items sourced from distant lands that connect ordinary citizens to global markets in ways they might never fully understand. Taverns near the docks serve as informal centers of negotiation. Sailors celebrate successful voyages with loud songs and strong drink, while merchants discuss upcoming journeys over shared meals. Contracts are sometimes sealed with a handshake rather than a formal document, trust built through repeated interactions within tight-knit trading communities. Musicians play lively tunes that echo into the streets, drawing curious onlookers who listen to stories of faraway places described with both honesty and exaggeration. Seasonal changes affect commerce dramatically. Stormy winters slow shipping routes, causing shortages that drive prices upward and create tension among buyers. Summer brings an influx of vessels, filling warehouses quickly and creating temporary jobs for laborers eager to earn extra wages. Festivals and public events boost trade as crowds gather to purchase food, drink, and entertainment. Merchants must constantly adapt to fluctuating conditions, learning to predict CT trends based on weather, politics, and rumors carried by travelers. Language diversity grows alongside commerce. Foreign traders introduced new words and customs, blending cultures within crowded marketplaces. Translators help negotiate deals between merchants who share little more than a desire for profit. New cuisines appear in small eateries, serving dishes influenced by international flavors, reflecting London's evolving identity as a cosmopolitan center of exchange. Amid the energy and opportunity, inequality remains stark. Wealthy merchants grow rich through successful ventures, while dock workers struggle to survive on uncertain wages, tied to unpredictable shipping schedules. Competition can be fierce, and a single failed voyage might destroy a family's financial stability, yet the possibility of advancement continues to draw people into the world of trade, fueling ambition and perseverance among those willing to risk everything for the promise of a better future. Every transaction adds to the pulse of the city, connecting individuals to an expanding global network that reshapes social structures, economic power, and cultural identity. Markets overflow with goods that represent countless journeys across oceans and continents, each item carrying hidden stories of labor and risk. Conversations in coffeehouses and counting rooms influence decisions that ripple outward, shaping the destiny of nations and empires. The movement of ships, carts, coins, and ideas creates a living rhythm that defines London as a hub of commerce and transformation, a place where opportunity and uncertainty walk side by side through crowded markets and bustling docks, where ambition fuels our relentless activity and the promise of wealth continues to draw people into the ever-expanding world of global trade and exchange in 18th century London. Carriages roll smoothly along the wide streets of the West End, their polished wheels gliding over cleaner stones, while footmen in fine livery stand proudly at the back. Behind tall windows framed by elegant curtains, chandeliers shimmer in candlelight, illuminating rooms filled with laughter, music, and quiet conversations about politics, fashion, and overseas ventures. Wealthy merchants, rising politicians, and members of the aristocracy gather in drawing rooms decorated with imported furniture and delicate porcelain. Silk gowns brush across polished floors, and powdered wigs reflect the glow of candles as guests sip tea sweetened with sugar brought from distant colonies. Every gesture carries an air of refinement shaped by social expectation and a desire to display status. Only a short walk away, the atmosphere shifts dramatically. Narrow alleys twist through crowded districts where families share single rooms and privacy becomes a rare luxury. Tenements rise several stories high, each floor packed with workers, widows, apprentices, and children struggling to find space to sleep. Damp walls and small windows allow little sunlight to enter, and the smell of smoke, sweat, and rotting refuse hangs constantly in the air. Laundry lines stretch across streets like tangled webs, while broken furniture and discarded scraps pile against doorways. Noise fills these neighborhoods from dawn until long after dark, voices echoing through thin walls where every argument and whispered worry becomes part of the shared environment. In grand homes, servants rise before sunrise to prepare meals and maintain appearances that define social hierarchy. Cooks labor over complex dishes designed to impress guests, while maids polish silverware until it gleams. Gardeners maintain carefully arranged landscapes that provide peaceful escapes from the city's chaos. Servants remain mostly invisible during social gatherings, moving silently through rooms to refill glasses and adjust candles. Their long hours and modest wages reflect the invisible labor supporting luxury, yet their presence also offers glimpses of a world beyond privilege, reminding observers that wealth rests on layers of effort often overlooked. In poorer districts, daily survival dominates every decision. Laborers return home exhausted after carrying heavy loads at docks or workshops, hoping that wages will stretch far enough to cover rent and bread. Mothers stretch thin supplies into meals that must satisfy large families, often sharing small portions, to ensure children eat first. Illness spreads quickly in crowded conditions, and access to medical care remains limited for those unable to pay. Yet even in hardship, communities form strong bonds. Neighbors share food during difficult times, watch each other's children, and offer comfort when tragedy strikes unexpectedly. Clothing becomes an immediate marker of social division. In affluent areas, fashion changes rapidly as imported fabrics introduce new styles. Men wear tailored coats with fine embroidery, while women display gowns layered with lace and ribbons that reflect current trends. Accessories such as pocket watches, jewelry, and decorated fans signal wealth and influence. In working G-class neighborhoods, garments are practical and often worn thin from repeated use. Patches cover holes, and shoes pass from older siblings to younger ones. Despite differences, personal pride remains visible. Even the poorest families attempt to present themselves with dignity whenever possible. Entertainment reveals another sharp contrast. Aristocratic families attend theaters, opera performances, and private musical evenings where composers and performers showcase their talents before attentive audiences. Gambling clubs and exclusive social gatherings provide opportunities to strengthen alliances and display social standing. Meanwhile, in crowded taverns and open squares, common citizens find joy through storytelling, folk music, and street performances. Laughter rises above hardship as people gather to dance or watch acrobats balancing on improvised stages. Entertainment becomes both an escape from reality and a reminder of shared humanity across social boundaries. Education highlights the gap between classes. Wealthy children receive private tutoring in languages, mathematics, and the arts, preparing them for leadership roles in business or government. Libraries filled with books encourage curiosity and intellectual growth. In contrast, many children from poor families begin working at an early age, leaving little time for formal learning. Some attend charity schools supported by religious organizations, gaining basic literacy that might improve future opportunities. Knowledge spreads unevenly through society, shaping expectations and limiting possibilities for those born into hardship. Healthcare reflects similar disparities. Wealthy individuals consult physicians, who provide treatments ranging from herbal remedies to experimental medical practices. Comfortable homes allow patients to recover in quiet surroundings attended by nurses or servants. In poorer districts, illness spreads quickly through crowded living spaces, and families rely on traditional remedies passed down through generations. Fear of disease becomes a constant companion, especially during outbreaks that claim lives without warning or discrimination. Religious institutions attempt to bridge social divides, offering charity and moral guidance to citizens from all walks of life. Churches host sermons attended by both nobles and laborers, though seating arrangements often reinforce social hierarchy. Wealthy patrons donate funds to support orphanages and poor relief programs, motivated by a mixture of compassion, religious duty, and a desire to maintain social stability. Public displays of generosity become both acts of kindness and reminders of inequality. Marriage and family life also reveal differences shaped by wealth. Aristocratic unions often involve strategic alliances designed to secure property and influence, while working-class marriages focus on survival and partnership in labor. Celebrations vary widely. Lavish weddings in grand halls contrast sharply with modest ceremonies held in crowded homes or local churches. Yet, emotions, love, hope, fear remain universal, crossing boundaries created by class and circumstance. As evening approaches, illuminated windows of grand houses reveal elegant dinners served on fine china, conversations flowing easily between guests discussing politics and trade. Across the city, candles flicker in cramped rooms where families gather around simple meals, sharing stories of the day's challenges and small victories. The sounds of music and laughter drift through both wealthy salons and crowded taverns, blending into the restless rhythm of a city defined by contrasts. Movement between classes remains possible, but rare, driven by luck, talent, or unexpected opportunity. Successful merchants sometimes rise into aristocratic circles, purchasing townhouses that symbolize new status. At the same time, financial failure or scandal can push once wealthy families into poverty, revealing the fragile nature of social standing. Observers recognize that the distance between luxury and hardship can be measured not only in miles, but in circumstances that shift without warning. Markets and public spaces serve as meeting points where social boundaries blur briefly. A noblewoman's carriage may pass through a crowded square filled with workers buying bread, and a laborer might deliver goods directly to an aristocratic home, witnessing a lifestyle far removed from daily struggle. These fleeting interactions remind citizens that London exists as a shared environment shaped by countless individual experiences. A city where splendor and suffering coexist side by side, where ambition and necessity drive people forward through crowded streets and grand avenues alike, where every glance across social divisions reveals both separation and an unspoken awareness of common humanity woven into the fabric of 18th century life. As daylight fades and the last streaks of orange disappear behind crooked rooftops, London begins to transform. Shopkeepers pull heavy shutters over their windows and lanterns flicker to life. Along narrow streets that seem to grow darker with every passing moment, The comforting noise of daytime markets slowly gives way to a different rhythm. Quieter footsteps, hushed conversations, and the distant echo of laughter spilling from taverns. Shadows stretch across uneven cobblestones, creating pockets of darkness where danger often hides. For many citizens, nightfall brings unease, a sense that the familiar city has slipped into another world entirely. The absence of reliable street lighting makes movement after sunset a risky endeavor. Oil lamps hung outside certain buildings provide only small circles of light, leaving most alleys cloaked in darkness. Watchmen patrol some neighborhoods carrying lanterns and wooden staffs while calling out the hours to reassure anxious residents. Their presence offers limited comfort, as criminals know how to avoid predictable patrol routes. Travelers walk quickly with heads down, clutching their belongings tightly. Even the sound of footsteps behind them can spark fear, causing hearts to race until the stranger passes without incident. Pickpockets thrive in crowded taverns and theaters where patrons gather for evening entertainment. Skilled thieves move silently through groups of distracted drinkers, slipping coins and jewelry into hidden pockets before disappearing into the maze of streets outside. Organized gangs begin to take shape, working together to plan robberies that target merchants returning home after a profitable day. Highwaymen wait on the outskirts of the city, ambushing carriages under the cover of darkness. Tales of daring robberies spread quickly, feeding both fascination and anxiety among citizens who feel increasingly vulnerable once the sun sets. Taverns become centers of nightlife, filled with sailors, laborers, and travelers seeking warmth, drink, and companionship. Music plays loudly as patrons sing along to familiar tunes, pounding tables with laughter that echoes into the streets. Stories of distant voyages and personal adventures mixed with rumors of political intrigue and local scandals. Dice games and card tables attract gamblers willing to risk their earnings in hopes of quick fortune. Some establishments maintain a lively but friendly atmosphere, while others attract more dangerous crowds where arguments escalate into fights fueled by alcohol and wounded pride. Prostitution flourishes in certain districts, reflecting both economic desperation and the complex social realities of the time. Women stand near tavern doors or walk through busy streets seeking customers, their presence both accepted and condemned by society. Brothels operate openly in some neighborhoods, offering an illusion of luxury that contrasts sharply with the harsh conditions faced by many who work within them. Moral debates surround these activities, yet enforcement remains inconsistent, influenced by corruption and shifting public attitudes. Public punishments become spectacles that draw large crowds even after dark. Executions and floggings take place in public squares where citizens gather to witness justice, carried out in dramatic fashion. Some attend out of curiosity, others out of fear, or a desire to see order restored in a city where crime seems ever present. Vendors sell food and drink to spectators, turning moments of suffering into communal events that blur the line between warning and entertainment. The emotional impact of these punishments lingers, shaping how people view authority and morality. Thieves' dens and hidden gambling houses operate in shadowy corners known only to locals and seasoned criminals. These secret spaces serve as meeting points where stolen goods change hands and plans for future crimes take shape. Informants provide information to authorities in exchange for reduced punishment or financial reward, creating a complex web of alliances and betrayals. Law enforcement struggles to maintain control over a rapidly growing city, relying on a patchwork system of watchmen and local officials who often lack the resources needed to confront organized crime effectively. Despite the dangers, nightlife offers moments of excitement and community. Theaters host dramatic performances illuminated by candlelight, attracting audiences from different social classes eager for stories that reflect their hopes and fears. Coffeehouses remain open late, filled with animated debates about philosophy, science, and politics. Musicians perform in open squares where dancers gather spontaneously, turning dark streets into stages for celebration. Festivals and seasonal events transform certain neighborhoods into lively spaces filled with music, fireworks, and shared laughter. Fear of fire adds another layer of tension to nighttime life. Crowded buildings constructed from wood and packed closely together create constant risk. Watchmen keep an eye out for flames that might spread rapidly through entire districts. Citizens remain alert to the smell of smoke, knowing that a single spark could destroy homes and livelihoods before dawn arrives. Community cooperatio becomes essential during emergencies, with neighbors forming bucket brigades to battle fires using whatever resources are available. The contrast between wealth and danger becomes especially visible after sunset. Elegant carriages carrying aristocrats travel quickly through busy streets, accompanied by armed guards who deter potential attackers. Wealthy districts employ private watchmen to maintain order, while poorer neighborhoods rely on mutual support and shared vigilance. Yet crime respects no boundaries entirely, and even the affluent remain aware that nighttime travel carries risks beyond their control. Stories circulate widely, blending truth with exaggeration. Tales of notorious criminals become part of local folklore, inspiring both fear and admiration. Ballads sung in taverns recount daring escapes and dramatic confrontations with authorities. These narratives shape public perception, influencing how citizens view justice, morality, and the nature of urban life. Newspapers publish reports of crimes and punishments, fueling discussions that continue long after the events themselves. As midnight approaches, the city settles into an uneasy rhythm. Some citizens return home to sleep, bolting doors and closing shutters tightly. Others begin work that can only be done under cover of darkness. Bakers preparing bread for morning markets, printers producing pamphlets that will spread new ideas at dawn. Lanterns flicker along empty streets where footsteps echo against stone walls and distant voices drift through open windows. The night reveals both the fragility and resilience of a city struggling to maintain order while offering space for freedom, excitement, and hue. Man connection amid shadows that conceal both danger and possibility. A restless landscape where fear and fascination intertwine with every passing hour in the complex and unpredictable nightlife of 18th century London. Morning light filters through tall windows into crowded coffeehouses where conversation rises like smoke above wooden tables stained by years of use. Men from different professions gather shoulder to shoulder, their coats brushing as they lean forward to argue about new ideas that challenge old traditions. Pamphlets and newspapers pass from hand to hand, each page carrying reports of scientific discoveries, political debates, and philosophical reflections that push the boundaries of established thought. The hum of discussion fills the room, blending curiosity with tension as individuals struggle to understand a rapidly changing world. Printing presses operate tirelessly in narrow workshops, their heavy wooden frames creaking with every pull of the lever. Apprentices stack fresh pages to dry, while printers adjust ink and type with practiced precision. Words travel farther than ever before, shaping public opinion and encouraging debate among readers who may never meet face to face. Cheap pamphlets allow ideas to reach beyond elite circles, entering taverns, marketplaces, and private homes where ordinary citizens begin to question authority and imagine new possibilities for society. Literacy becomes a powerful tool that connects individuals across social divisions, allowing knowledge to spread with remarkable speed. Scientific curiosity flourishes within small societies and informal gatherings where natural philosophers demonstrate experiments that seem almost magical. Glass instruments capture electricity, telescopes reveal distant stars, and mechanical devices promise to transform labor and industry. Observers watch in awe as sparks leap between wires or strange machines move without visible force. These moments of wonder inspire both excitement and skepticism, prompting discussions about the relationship between faith, reason, and human progress. Enthusiasm for discovery encourages individuals to explore nature through observation and experimentation rather than relying solely on inherited beliefs. Educational institutions expand their influence as scholars publish treatises on mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. Lectures attract audiences eager to learn about anatomy, chemistry, and engineering innovations that may improve daily life. Some universities maintain strict traditions while private academies experiment with more modern approaches to learning. Knowledge becomes a form of social currency, granting prestige to those who demonstrate intellectual skill. Young students dream of contributing to discoveries that might change the course of history, inspired by stories of thinkers who challenge established doctrines. The arts reflect and shape the spirit of transformation. Playwrights present dramas that question power structures and explore human emotion with unprecedented realism. Poets publish verses that celebrate individual experience and social change, while painters capture scenes of everyday life alongside grand historical events. Music evolves through public concerts that attract audiences from multiple social classes, bringing new styles into popular culture. Artistic expression becomes a mirror reflecting society's hopes and anxieties, providing a space where imagination and criticism coexist. Political discussion intensifies as citizens debate the nature of government and the rights of individuals. Coffeehouses serve as informal forums where merchants, writers, and workers exchange opinions about taxation, war, and representation. Pamphleteers write passionately about liberty, justice, and reform, sometimes facing censorship or punishment for their bold ideas. Public opinion begins to carry more weight as leaders recognize the influence of an increasingly informed population. Conversations that once belonged only to aristocratic circles now echo through crowded streets, shaping the collective consciousness of a nation in transition. Technological innovation hints at the coming industrial age. Engineers experiment with new methods of manufacturing and transportation, seeking ways to increase efficiency and reduce reliance on manual labor. Workshops filled with gears and metal tools represent the early stages of mechanization that will eventually reshape economies and social structures. Inventors share prototypes with potential investors, hoping to secure funding that will turn creative visions into practical realities. Curiosity drives progress as individuals seek solutions to problems ranging from urban sanitation to agricultural production. Religious thought also undergoes transformation as new interpretations challenge traditional authority. Preachers deliver sermons that emphasize personal responsibility and moral reform, encouraging followers to reflect on their own beliefs rather than relying solely on institutional guidance. Debates between different denominations become common, reflecting broader discussions about tolerance and freedom of conscience. Spiritual life remains central to many citizens, yet the diversity of perspectives encourages dialogue that expands understanding of faith and ethics. Women begin to participate more visibly in intellectual and cultural life, hosting salons where writers, scientists, and political thinkers gather to exchange ideas. Though formal education opportunities remain limited for many, informal networks provide spaces for conversation and collaboration. Letters written between friends and colleagues serve as powerful tools for sharing knowledge, connecting individuals across cities and even continents. These exchanges foster communities united by curiosity and ambition rather than solely by social rank. Public spaces become laboratories of transformation, where ordinary people encounter new technologies and ideas. Exhibitions display inventions that promise to change transportation, communication, and domestic life. Street lecturers attract crowds eager to hear about scientific breakthroughs or political theories that challenge conventional wisdom. The rapid exchange of information creates a sense that the world is expanding beyond traditional boundaries, offering opportunities for advancement alongside uncertainty about the future. Publishing houses flourish as demand for books grows, producing novels that explore human psychology and social conditions with unprecedented depth. Readers identify with fictional characters facing moral dilemmas and personal struggles, developing empathy that shapes attitudes toward justice and reform. Libraries emerge as centers of learning accessible to broader segments of society, allowing individuals from modest backgrounds to engage with complex ideas previously reserved for elites. The relationship between innovation and economic growth becomes increasingly apparent. Merchants invest in new technologies that promise to improve production and transportation, while entrepreneurs experiment with business models that reflect changing consumer demands. Urban infrastructure begins to adapt to accommodate expanding trade and population growth. The pace of change accelerates as each new discovery inspires further experimentation, creating a cycle of progress that reshapes expectations for future generations. Amid excitement, resistance emerges from those who fear that rapid transformation threatens traditional values and social stability. Debates grow heated as individuals struggle to balance respect for the past with hope for a more equitable future. Some worry that machines will replace skilled laborers, while others celebrate innovation as a path toward prosperity. These conflicting perspectives create a dynamic intellectual landscape where progress remains both celebrated and contested. Conversations unfolding in crowded rooms and quiet studies alike. Voices rising and falling as society searches for meaning within an era defined by curiosity, experimentation, and an unrelenting desire to understand the world through reason, creativity, and shared human experience in 18th century London. Thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.